Miss Marvel is actually getting close to wrapping up here. Next week is the finale. I gotta say, I've been really enjoying Miss Marvel, guys. I think the characters are so charming. They have such great chemistry. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about this for a couple weeks now. I really do like what they've done with the show up until this point. That being said, I do think that these two episodes have been the weakest for me. And I think the biggest reason why these episodes have been the weakest for me is they've taken Kamala, they've taken her out of San Francisco to visit the nanny. I really liked what they were doing in the fourth episode where she's never been there before, she's experiencing the culture, and I just can't imagine what it's like watching this show as a Pakistani. Like I hope the representation is justice for them. I hope that this is accurate because I feel like I'm learning a lot through this Marvel show about that culture, about that side of the world. And while I am enjoying that, I do feel like, especially last week's episode and even a little bit this week's episode, was a little bit of a detour of the story that they were telling. I mean, we still got some fun action in there. We got a fun chase scene near the end. We learned a little bit more about Kamala's powers. She met up with this new guy, part of the Red Daggers Club or something. I don't even remember his name. And it was fun stuff. But I do feel like both last week's episode and this week's episode kind of meandered a bit because this week's episode, at the end of last week's episode, the Jinn stabbed Kamala's bracelet, the bangle, and she got sent back in time to where her great grandma um was escaping the British occupied time of India, which I knew nothing about. Like the first episode, the first shot of episode 5 is this like montage of like news footage from that time of what was going on in India and the British and attacking them and just attacking the Muslim people. Like I had no idea about any of this. So the fact that I'm learning about this through a Marvel show is actually pretty cool. And the fact that there are kids out there who are Pakistan, who are Muslim, who are, black, white, all these different people, all these different kids are learning this history through a Marvel show. I find that really awesome. I think that's incredible. But we did spend a lot of time this episode on the great grandma, on Aisha, learning her backstory, who she met, how she escaped and or tried to escape from the British occupied India. And I just felt like all of that, while it was really interesting to learn about, it could have been condensed. It could have been shorter. It could have been told a little bit faster, maybe executed a little bit better, in my opinion. I just feel like going into this finale now next week, I don't feel like the story we were following with Kamala is ready to be wrapped up yet. I feel like this was like a really good kind of break in the season to like go into the second half of the season. But we're not going into the second half of the season. We're going into the end of the show. I'm still enjoying the show. Don't get me wrong. I'm still enjoying the show. But these two episodes did get me nervous because the Marvel Disney Plus shows, we've seen it with Obi-Wan, we've seen it with Falcon Winter Soldier, in my opinion, Loki, Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight was the worst case of this, where they have a fantastic setup. They have a great second episode. You get to the third, fourth episode, and you think, okay, that felt a little fuller. That felt like we didn't like it took way too long to do this. It felt like it just went on for too long. And then before you know it, you're going into the finale and you feel like, but the story can't end yet. It's not time. It doesn't feel like we've gotten there yet. And that's what I'm starting to feel with Miss Marvel. Like I said, there is a lot to enjoy in the episode. We did learn more about the villain, the Jinn's main objective. They want to break the veil between their dimension and our world. And if they do that, our world will be destroyed. So, of course, that's playing into a little bit of the multiverse stuff that's happening with the MCU. And, of course, it ties back to Shang-Chi because Shang-Chi dealt with other dimensions. That's where the mother was from, that the father was trying to get to. And the one girl at the end of the episode tries to get through the veil, and she just disintegrates, which was a really cool effect. Burns up, disintegrates, falls into skeleton and bones. And I was like, wow, that's getting really interesting. And then the episode kind of ended. And like there were some really nice moments between the mother and her mother, the Nani, and there were some great moments between Kamala and her mother, and learning more about how her mother was a little bit more of a rebel. She wasn't always a strict parent that Kamala sees her as. the family stuff, the family dynamic, the relationships, that's where this show really soars for me, which is crazy because when it gets to the superhero stuff, when it gets to her powers and the fighting scenes and all that stuff, it's really cool and it's really fun. But it's almost like this shouldn't be a superhero story, almost. Like, if this was just about this Pakistani family just going through life, I think I would still enjoy Miss Marvel as much as I'm enjoying Miss Marvel. But as it is, we're going into the finale now next week. I'm getting a little nervous. I don't really know how they're going to wrap up this story. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. But what did you guys think of these last two episodes of Miss Marvel, episode 4, episode 5? Comment all your thoughts down below in the comment section. I want to hear all of them. And without further ado, let's hear what you guys are saying.